Thank you again for joining us for this webinar today. This webinar is sponsored by the Institute on Disability and Human Development and the Leadership Education and Neurodevelopmental Disabilities Program, both at UIC's Department on Disability and Human Development, as well as the Autism Program of Illinois. Funding is provided in part by the Autism Program of Illinois and the Illinois Department of Human Services. We are so excited to have Jae Jin and TJ with us here today to share about this important topic. Now I will turn it over to Jae Jin.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jae Jin Pak, and again, I add my welcome to joining us today for this webinar. I have the pleasure of talking to you about self-advocacy and the importance of voting. I will note that the content was helped in collaboration by the Illinois Self Advocacy Alliance of Illinois, whose logo is at the bottom. Next slide. So again, as I said, my name is Jae Jin Pak. I am the project specialist for the Illinois Self Advocacy Alliance. I'm also connected with UIC's Institute on Disability and Human Development as a community education and training coordinator. Again, it's my pleasure to be here with you. So, before we get into the meat of voting, I wanted to just highlight about what self-advocacy is. And for all of us in the disability community who identify as having a disability, the basic definition of self-advocacy is all about speaking up and speaking out for yourself or ourselves and other people who can't or don't know how to speak up for themselves. So it's all about the idea of advocating and letting people know what our wants and desires are, how we can work to address those needs. Okay. This is a cover shot of a PSA put out by Self Advocates Being Empowered, which is a national organization of self-advocates with disabilities across the country. And it's a great short video of spotlighting self-advocates, diverse groups of self-advocates talking about what's important. I would encourage you to check out this PSA as well as others on their website. And the reason I also mentioned self-advocacy is, and why it's important connected to voting, is one of the things that motivates us to vote is thinking about what issues and concerns are important to us. And within the disability community, it's everything from accessibility issues, healthcare, housing, employment, access to education, childcare, supports for families and all kinds of issues and concerns that face many people. And how many of these needs and concerns are addressed is through the power of voting. So let's go talk about voting. So in Illinois, before we get into some of the rights of voting and some of the resources, one of the first things that's important is to find out if you're registered to vote. So everybody who is eligible to vote, in order to vote, needs to register in our state. So one really simple way, and that I would encourage everyone, if you haven't already, if you're interested, you can find out if you are registered to vote by contacting the Illinois State Board of Elections online voter application. So that's a big mouthful. Simply, if you want to Google Illinois State Board of Elections, and on that website, it's a very clear option for you to search and check your voter registration. And on that page, on the page where you can check your voter registration, it will just ask you to fill out some basic information about your name, your address, your zip code, and then it will tell you if you're registered to vote. And if you're not, it will also give you information on how you can register to vote. It's a fairly straightforward system. It only takes a couple minutes. So let's talk about voting rights. As individuals who have the right to vote and use our power to vote to let our policymakers select who our policymakers are, legislators are, also letting them know what issues we as a community want them to support and what issues maybe we disagree with. In order so that we all have access to that right to vote, there are some basic rights that I want to go over. So next, one of the first things, there we go. So there is a federal law that is called the Help America Vote Act, or HAVA, which basically says that it guarantees all individuals who are eligible to vote the right to be able to vote privately and independently. It requires that all states have a statewide system for provisional ballots when needed. Also create statewide computerized voter lists. And lastly, most importantly, for those of us with disabilities, makes sure that polling places are accessible. That for when, at times when we are able to go out and vote in person at various polling places, that it requires that those polling places be accessible to those of us in the disabled community. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. In terms of some practical voting rights, first one is that we all have the right to bring someone with us that we trust to vote. So sometimes it's nice to go with a buddy or go with someone that we trust to help us, whether it's access issue, accommodation issues, or just for moral support. We all have the right to bring someone with us to help us at the polling place. However, with this particular situation, there are some individuals by nature of their relationship or their position that really is not allowed to be our support person. So those individuals are, say, your boss. So I can't bring my employer, my supervisor, my boss to the polling place to help me vote because they're my boss. And they have a lot of authority over me and my work. A union officer or union rep. So if I belong to a trade union, again, even if I trust the person who is a member of my trade union, I can't ask them to help me at the polling place because, again, as a union that involves some advocacy and conflict of interest. And lastly, any candidate who happens to be on the ballot. So if it's a local, state, or federal election, I can't ask the person I trust happens to be running in the election that I'm voting in. It's a conflict of interest. So again, in those specific cases, those individuals are not eligible to come with you. But outside of that, friends, acquaintances, other people that you trust, you can invite them along as support. Next. So the next right that's really important I want to highlight is the right to ask for help from election officials. So now I've done this in my time. One time that when I went to vote, the polling place was new to me, so I was unfamiliar and wasn't too familiar with the ballot or the machine. So we have the right to walk up to the polling officials and ask for assistance. And that could be just with questions or if to address any accommodation needs that we may have. And again, they are duty bound to help us with our disability accommodations when we ask. Okay. The third right is that we have the right to get a new ballot if we make a mistake. And this was news to me fairly recently. Is for a long time, I thought, oh, as a person who gets the vote, I only get one ballot at the polling place. But no, if you get a ballot and you start filling it out and you make a mistake, we have the right to go to the, to go to the polling officials and say, I like to get a replacement ballot to get a new one. And again, that's important to know, is we have the right to request a new ballot. The fourth right that I want to go over is that we all have the right to ask for what's called a provisional ballot if you are told that you can't vote for some reason. So if you're able to go to the polling place and you choose to do that, and for some reason you're told, oh, you can't vote, this was news to me, because I thought, oh, if I'm told I can't vote, I'm not registered, then I can't do anything. That's not true. We have the right to ask for a provisional ballot and fill that out. And that's a way to, again, exercise our right to vote. Next. And the last right that I want to mention today is the right to have that anyone who feels that they need to have access to an accessible voting machine has the right to ask this, whether they identify as having a disability or have a visible disability or not. The accessible voting machines are available to anyone who feels the need to use them. So I've been talking about, in the context of some of these rights, as when we actually go to a polling place. And yes, if that option is still there in our current year and our upcoming election. However, I think it's important to note that because of this time of COVID-19 and that, the importance of social distancing, and that many of us in the disability community, by the nature of trying to take care of ourselves, may not have may choose not to go out to an in-person polling place, that we still have an option to exercise our voting right, and that's through voting by mail. And in Illinois is allowing or has the option to vote by mail. And if that's something that you are interested in, you can go to IllinoisVotes2020.com, or again, go to the Illinois State Board of Elections, and there is very clear, direct, kind of simple directions on how you can obtain your vote by mail ballot. Again, you fill out a simple form, letting them know your address, and they will send you a hard copy, a printed copy of the ballot when they start mailing those out. Many of you may have already gotten flyers or reminder cards about vote by mail already at your home. Information you have, again, just look at those, and there's information in those mailings about who you can contact or call or email, or a website you can go to request your ballot by mail. And again, for many of us in the disability community, if it's because of our disability, if it's convenient or safer for us, I would encourage you and invite you to request your ballot so you can vote. Next. If for those of us that vote or have any questions or concerns about our voting rights, or when early voting takes place and you go out and you try to do early voting in a polling place in your community, for some reason we have problems, we have access issues, the polling place is not accessible, or there's some other kind of problem or issue that comes up, then please know there is a resource to let people know of your challenges and barriers so that can be addressed. and the organization that is helping to manage all of that and support those of us in the disability community address these types of voting access challenges is Equip for Equality. Equip for Equality is our statewide protection advocacy center. They have advocates and staff and attorneys on staff who are experts in voting law and access, and they are committed to helping those of us have our access to voting and be able to our right to vote in an equitable way. So if you have any questions or issues, you can contact Equip for Equality via telephone at 1-800-537-2632. They have a TTY number at 800-610-2779, or you can email them at voting@equipforequality.org. Alrighty, next. I want to end my time, our conversation around voting access by reading you this poem that's entitled My Vote, written by Self Advocate Jeff Ridgeway. And the poem goes, they say I can't vote. They say the decision is not mine. They say I don't understand. I guess they think they are being kind. I wonder what they would say or think if they only knew that when they call the president, quote, our president, I want to call him mine too. If I never get the chance to vote, pulling the lever or punching the card or writing his name down, I stay the same, dumb, misinformed, unchanged, unempowered. That is what this world expects me to be, but I want so much more. I want to be the most educated, the most informed, the most totally changed, the most totally empowered person that I can be when I vote. I can make a difference, and then I can say with pride, not yours, not theirs, but my president, because I put him there. So I like that this poem because, again, it's a very powerful message. Those of us in the disability community have lived for a long time with negative images and stereotypes, but we have the power to exercise our vote. And I would encourage all of you and ask all of you to exercise your right and our voice and your voice, make it count and go vote. And the last slide I just want to show you is some resources. Again, there's a great toolkit with a wonderful voting access information put together by Self Advocates Being Empowered. You can find it at their website at self-advocacy or at sabeusa.org. You can also contact and get information about the Self Advocacy Alliance at our website. And again, hopefully this was helpful. And thank you so much. And I'll turn it over to TJ, who will talk to you about the importance of the upcoming census.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Timotheus Gordon, and I will talk to you all about the next part of the presentation, which is about the 2020 census. But before I go further, thank you so much, Jae Jin, for presenting information about voting and how to vote, because this is a very important year to vote, and voting holds power. So I appreciate you giving us the information that we need to make our voices heard through voting. Next slide, please. All right, so again, my name is TJ Gordon, or if you want to know my full name, Timotheus Gordon Jr. My pronouns are he, his, and I am a research assistant at UIC's Institute on Disability and Human Development. I am also a co-founder of Chicagoland Disabled People of Color Coalition. And basically, it is a group of disabled people of color throughout the Chicagoland area who promotes disability acceptance and inclusion in communities of color, not only in the Chicagoland area, but also within the Chicago city limits. Next slide, please. So people may wonder, what is this talk about the census? What is a census? For those who don't know, a census is basically a count of everybody living in the United States. And in fact, it is in the Constitution. Congress must do a count of all the people living in the United States every 10 years, and they've been doing so since 1790. So it's been almost 250 years. And if you like to get a reference of where the requirement comes from, you can actually refer to Article 1, Section 2, and Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution. Next slide, please. And this year is very important because it is not only the perfect opportunity to voice your opinion and speak up and speak out by voting. You can also speak up and speak out by filling out the census. But there are some people who have a lot of concerns and myths about the census. Some people say that the census is a waste of time. Why bother? Or it does not count non-U.S. citizens. Some people fear that their information may be used against them. And the topic I'll get into more today specifically is what does the census have to do with me and my community, especially what does the census have to do with people with disabilities or if I'm a person of color. Next slide, please. And to the right of slide 33 is a infographic that explains the benefits of filling out the census. One of the main benefits is if more people fill out the census, that means more people in your community, but also more resources and money to build and maintain the community, whether it's more money for family services, more money for food assistance programs such as SNAP, better roads, better public safety, better health care, lots of things. But also, we could tie the census into voting. Every 30,000 people in a state area gets one U.S. representative. That means when you fill out the census, not only it means more people in your community and more resources for the community, but that also means that your state could get one extra representative. And that is great for two reasons. You could go to a congressperson close to your area, if you want to advocate for anything, including disability rights or racial equality and equity, but also you as representatives is key in presidential elections. And if you hear about states such as Texas, Ohio, or California, those are states that have a lot of representatives. And in the past, the person that gets the states with the most representatives usually win the election. Next slide, please. And in addition to the general benefits of filling out the census, there's also benefits for the disability community as well. As I mentioned before, if more people fill out the census, then we get more reps. And when we get more reps, we have more opportunities to speak up and speak out for the cause we care about. This also means that in our disability communities in our local area, we will have more money to make our neighborhoods more inclusive and accessible. It could look like fixing sidewalks, making sure that all sidewalks have curb cuts for wheelchair users, making sure that more buildings are ADA accessible, or creating more resources and medical places for people with disabilities to go to. Next slide, please. In addition, I would spend a few moments busting some myths about the census. Earlier, I stated that some people are afraid to fill out the census is because they assume that it's for citizens only. But I got great news. If you live in the United States as of right now, no matter if you're a citizen, if you're an immigrant, if you're on a visa, whatever your status, as long as you live in the United States right now, you can fill out the census. We are also proud to announce that your information will not be used against you. The census usually collect your information for research and data purposes only. They will not use your name or exact addresses. They'll mostly use basically the number of people in your neighborhood usually, and also get a count of how many people in the household, who live in the household, but they go mainly use numbers only, not address or specific names. And as a reminder, the last day to fill out the census is September the 30th. This is the last day that the U.S. Census Bureau will collect information. Now, from what I'm gathering from some people in my advocacy circle, and also people who are encouraging others to fill out the census, it may change due to legal issues with the current cutoff date in some states. The issue in some states is that they feel people may not have enough time to fill out the census, and extending the deadline will give people more time to fill it out, and also to make sure that states get a more accurate count. But for right now, September the 30th is the last day to fill out the census. It's the last day that the U.S. Census Bureau will collect information. Next slide, please. there are 4 ways you can fill out the census. You can fill it out by yourself, or you can also ask someone to fill it out for you. If you have access to a phone, whether it's a smartphone or a phone that you use at home, you could call 844-330-2020. Or if you want to complete the census in other languages other than English, such as Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, and much more, or if you want to use TTY, you may go to the link, which is tinyurl.com/YXCN as in Nancy, UTHP as in Peter. And it will lead you to a page where it give you all the numbers you need if you want to access the census in different languages or TTY. If you have access to the internet or Wi-Fi, you may fill out the census at my2020census.gov, and it is available in many languages. For some of us, the Census Bureau sent out a census form around March or April. If you haven't done so already, you could fill out the census form that was in your mailbox, and you could mail it back to the Census Bureau. And another way that you can complete the census, right now there are people coming to your door from the Census Bureau. They will knock at your door, and they'll come with like they're trying to get a device like a phone or a tablet. There's also an opportunity where you can fill out the census. You can do so in person. Keep in mind that make sure that they are the people from the Census Bureau. They have to wear IDs that says they are from the Census Bureau. If they don't have that ID, don't let them in. Next slide, please. All right, so in addition to the 4 ways to complete the census, IDHD has also been a part of the County on Chicago Coalition. The County on Chicago Coalition is a group of 30-plus organizations that encourage people in rural response areas in Chicago to complete the census. So, for instance, there are some places in Chicago, such as parts of the west side of Chicago, West Inglewood, and other areas on the south side where people are, where less people are filling out the census for many reasons that I stated earlier, from I don't know how to fill it out to I don't know how the census benefit me and my community. So what we do as a coalition, we host webinars such as this one, encouraging people to fill out the census. We also do social media campaigns, and we do virtual and in-person events, encouraging people to fill out the census. And every Wednesdays, we will do what we call community blitzes, where we give out census information and goodies to people in low response areas, and we also help them fill out the census as well. To the right of slide 37 is a picture of three people, two people wearing blue shirts that says Counting on Chicago Coalition, and then a random person holding a the information sheet. That is me. But basically, if you see people wearing the blue shirts that say Counting on Chicago in your neighborhood, you can also come to them to help you fill out the census. Next slide, please. While we partner with the Counting on Chicago Coalition, we also created a social media campaign on our own called IAmCounted. To the right of page 38, you'll see a image of a person wearing like a peach tank top. That person also has dreadlocks and smiling. That was me before I cut my hair. Above me is a logo that says IAmCounted, hashtag 2020 census. And in between those phrases are basically silhouettes of people with disabilities. To the right of that logo is hashtag IAmCounted with an exclamation point. Below me are the logos for Chicagoland DPOC, IDHD, and the Counting on Chicago Coalition. IAmCounted is a social media campaign where people with disabilities can show in their social media accounts that they complete the census, and also encourage family and friends to do the same. And how it's done is we use the hashtag IAmCounted Census 2020 and Counting on Chicago if you're in the Chicagoland area when posting IAmCounted pictures. You can either access the logos on Chicagoland DPOC's social media accounts, which I will talk about at the end. Or if you have Facebook, there's also IAmCounted Facebook frames that you can use as well for your profile picture. So when you upload your profile picture, for instance, and when you go to frames, just type in IAmCounted, and you'll have several versions of the phrase to choose from. They are available in English, Spanish, and Arabic at the moment. Next slide, please. In addition to the IAmCounted initiative, we also created a Census 101 packet. It is basically a packet specifically for people with disabilities that explains what the census is all about, how it's important to the disability community, ways you can fill out the census, and we also go more in depth about the IAmCounted campaign, and we also have additional resources they can check out related to the census and the disability community. If you would like a copy of Census 101, it's available on Chicago DPOC's website at chicagoland.com/2020/08/census-101. For accessibility purposes, it is in plain language and large print. It's basically in a language for everybody to understand, and we try to avoid jargon or words that some may not understand. Next slide, please. In addition to Census 101, if you want additional resources, you could check out the following resources. You could go to Chicagoland Depop's WordPress or YouTube account to learn more about IAmCounted. And again, if you want the Census 101 packet, just access the link to the Chicagoland Depop website. Now, if you want to learn more about County on Chicago Coalition, or if you want to follow up on current events, you may go to their website at countyonchicagocoalition.org. Next slide. Now, let's say if you want to learn more about the census from the U.S. Census website, or if you have any questions about the census, you may go to the 2020 census.gov website, or again, if you want to start it out, you can also go online or call 844-330-2020. All the information are available in multiple languages. And now the ARC also have information on the U.S. Census, but their information is geared more towards people with disabilities, including people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. If you want more about information on the census and the impact on the disability community from a national level, you could go to the ARC's page at the arc.org/census. And lastly, Chicago at Depop have resources as well, from videos from the U.S. Census to one-pagers that you could check out from our database, in which you could go to our Google Drive or our YouTube channel for more videos and quick information. Next slide. All right, that is all that I have for the census portion of this presentation. Remember to register to vote, and also remember to fill out the census. Both are very important to the disability community. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and we look forward to all the questions that you have for us. Thank you.
Thank you, TJ and Jae Jin. If you have any questions at the moment, you can enter them in the chat, and I will pass them on to the presenters. We do have some questions to start. The first question is, which websites could I go to where I could learn more about candidate stands on disability rights and justice?
Hi, this is Jae Jin. To the question about where you can go to learn about your candidates' positions on disability rights issues, I would encourage you to just go to your candidates' website themselves and look through their information, see what they say, and then you can also contact excuse me. You can also, if you belong to a disability or self-advocate group in your community, you can ask your friends and colleagues in the disability community about what they've heard and information, and learn what the community is opinions are, or ideas are, or positions are on there. But I would encourage you to start with the candidate's website and see what they say, and then go from there.
Great. Thank you for answering that one. We do have another question. Is there an option for other or non-binary when being asked about my gender in the census?
This is Tina speaking, and that is a great question. Unfortunately, it's only male or female, and they don't have the option. You don't have the option to put out other or non-binary. In fact, that was one of the big debates about this year's census. However, that would definitely be a campaign to start up in the future to make sure that everybody is included in the census. And that includes creating options where you are not limited to choose male or female. If you want to write down a non-binary, if you don't want to reveal your gender, then you should have that option.
Great. Thank you for answering that one. One of their questions are there other ways I could get my voice heard besides voting? What are other ways I could get my voice heard after the elections?
Ooh, that's a great question. Yes, there are lots of ways you can exercise your right to self-advocacy and share your voice and ideas. You can get involved if there is a disability organization like Center for Independent Living or other disability group or organization in your hometown, in your community. Reach out to them and learn about what they do and see if there are groups or activities you can join and get involved with. Similarly, outside of disability groups, if there's just organizations or groups that you have interested in, whether that's, again, housing, employment, social services, youth services, and there are campaigns and activities that you feel strongly about, you can contact those groups and say, I want to help out, I want to join, and let them know that you have your interest and find out and learn how you can contribute. Outside of, and even in the time of COVID now, where many of us are, again, working from home, volunteering from home, there are still opportunities for us to contribute remotely as well, aside from going to physical spaces. Also, write letters. You can make phone calls to policymakers or organizational leaders, again, to share your ideas, your concerns, to contribute your voice to whatever the array of issues and concerns that you or have that are important to you.
Great, thank you. We do have a comment also in the chat that says, thank you both so much for all of your work. This is so important. I don't think there are any other questions at the moment. Thank you for joining the IDHD webinar series. Again, thank you for being here. We do have another webinar coming up on the 30th. We're very excited to introduce the Cognition, Behavior, and Mindfulness Clinic, a new service option in the Chicago area. You can register for that at www.accessibilityonline.org, IDHD/schedule. Thank you so much to our presenters as well.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.